Welcome to the Crypto Knowledge Alliance. It's me, Jimbo. We're going to split today's video into two sections. We're going to start with the law of diffusion of innovation and Maloney's 16% rule, and we're going to use it to ask the question, is Bitcoin beginning to bridge the adoption chasm? After that, we're going to do our normal market roundup and news roundup. If you're new here, give us a like and a sub if this is the sort of content you want to see more of, and if you want to join an ongoing cryptocurrency conversation with like-minded people, you can join the Telegram. I will put the link below. It's really interesting in there. We've got some really level-headed, experienced people who are contributing to a great conversation. So, you know, if that interests you and you want to get involved in that, check it out. Okay. Before we start, obviously I have to do normal disclaimer, guys. I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I giving financial advice. I'm just a guy calling things how I see them, and you should always seek professional advice before making any investment. Remember, they're your own responsibility. That being said, let's jump into this first part of the video. Accelerating diffusion of innovation and Maloney's 16% rule. Okay guys, you may or may not have seen this graph before, this chart, sorry, before. If you have never seen this, I will put a link in the description for a Simon Sinek video where he discusses the law of diffusion of innovation, and he probably does a much better job than I'm about to do in explaining it, but I'm going to try my best. So, okay, what have we got here? We have got a representation of people and their points along the adoption curve, the percentage of the population and their positions along the adoption curve. So we've got our early 2.5%, these are the innovators, technologists, creators. 13.5% are our early adopters and the visionaries. Then we have the early majority, the late majority, and late mass, which make up the rest of this section. These guys all adopt technologies after the original people sort of not take the risk, but take the dive, and their willingness to get on board with an idea and a technology depends on where they are along this adoption curve, whether they're pragmatists, conservatives, skeptics. You get the idea. Now, Maloney's 16% rule, what that is a rule that says to reach full adoption of a technology or a product, you have to bridge the gap between 16%, which is 13.5 plus the 2.5, and the rest. Okay, if you can bridge the gap between the 16% and the rest, you've considered to have passed the tipping point. Once you get through the tipping point, this is when a technology is going to surge. It's going to do well. What, you know, likely to do well. If you go and watch that Simon Sinek video, he gives countless examples of very good examples of technologies and ideas that manage to bridge the chasm, and other ideas that didn't breach the chasm. And the example I can remember he used off the top of my head is TiVo. And he says that how even though TiVo had a great technology and it was user friendly and it was great and it did everything that no other technology at the time did, they never breached the 16%. Then they never made it. They never breached the chasm. They couldn't get the early adopters and the innovators to somehow convince and have this product spread to the early majority, late majority, and late mass, and it failed. Okay, so but anyway, go and watch that video if you haven't checked it out. Well worth it, right? So why am I raising this today? What's the point of all of this? Let me show you. I'm not going to play this video. I'm just going to quickly show you this pause spot. Again, I'll put the link in the description. Come and check it out if you want. It's from litecoin.nl here on YouTube. He has posted a video from yesterday at the Madrid Mobile Business Summit. At this business summit, Samsung did a presentation about their blockchain support and their Knox security key store. Whilst they were doing the presentation, they had this appear behind them, clearly representing Bitcoin, Ethereum, Engine Coin, and Cosme. It's right here. This is Samsung. This is Samsung. Okay? Another piece of news that's dropped today: Decentraland to debut on HTC Exodus 1. Now, if you don't know, if Decentraland doesn't immediately come to your head, you might recognise Mana. If you're a Binance trader, you'll recognise the ticker Mana. This is Decentraland. Again, partnership here announcement between a pre-existing technology leader, business, company, taking a partnership with a blockchain company and bringing it to the real world, bringing it to the hands, quite literally into the hands of the mass market. Just this last thing I wanted to show you before I move back to the chart is this map here of Bitcoin ATMs. Now, it says currently here we've got 4,376. Whether this information is correct or not, I'm not 100% sure. It's Coin ATM radar. But look, guys, this is all over the world. These Bitcoin ATMs are spreading all over the world, right? Now, to me and you, because if you're watching this video, you probably got pre-existing interest in cryptocurrency. You probably buy your cryptocurrency on an exchange, and it seems weird to you to go to an ATM and get Bitcoin. I understand. Me too, right? But there are a lot of people who've never bought Bitcoin on an exchange, who don't trust the likes of Coinbase, like people who've already used it do. And to those people, an ATM in the future may look like a very attractive way to purchase Bitcoin if you're too concerned about, online security, understandably. So again, interesting to see these all over the world. So let's take it back to the chart quickly and see what I'm getting at. Now, in my personal belief, I think that these spaces within the 16% are filling up. I think we're getting there. I think this 16% is starting to fill. And I'm not saying it's done right now. I'm not saying that we're there and that mass adoption is about to happen tomorrow by any stretch. What I'm saying is, I think the spaces in the 16% are filling up. And I think that the next big challenge that faces cryptocurrencies and blockchain projects is bridging the chasm of adoption. We need to go past this tipping point at 16% and into the likes of the early majority, late majority, and late mass. I think the announcements that we've seen in the last few days have been a very good indication that we are starting to see the correct pipelines or bridges, if you like, that are starting to be built here to see this early majority perhaps start joining the market in the next few years. Once these people have decentralized apps like Cosme on their phone in their hands, once these people have the ability to safely store Bitcoin on a hard wallet that they already have in their pocket, these pragmatists, these guys here, they might just start saying, well, I've got it, I might as well start having a go. And now we just read this quickly, a little note from here. Once you've achieved 16% of any adoption of any innovation, you must change your messaging and media strategy from one based on scarcity to one based on social proof in order to accelerate through the chasm to the tipping point. Okay? Now, I think perhaps this is what we're going to start to see. I think that we as the early adopters and innovators, we're the ones that are going to get the S10 and show off our friends that we can keep our Bitcoin on our phones. We're the ones who are going to download Cosme and have the engine wallet and whatever other things that they give access to, potentially ICX, things like that. We're the ones that are going to do that, and we're going to be able to show our friends and family and people that don't understand or trust blockchain or Bitcoin yet how these things work. And this is going to start becoming the message of social proof. These non-believers, the critics, the skeptics, the conservatives, the pragmatists, they're going to start seeing people being able to use Bitcoin and blockchain every day. And I think this is going to help cryptocurrencies bridge the chasm of adoption. We're going to move on now, guys, and we're going to do the market roundup next. I hope you found that interesting. Remember, guys, if you did, give me a like, give me a subscribe. It really helps me to keep creating this content. Thanks, guys. On to the next bit. Alright guys, we'll try and make the roundup as quick as possible today. I don't want to go on for too long. Here we've got the Bitcoin 1-day chart on Coinbase. I've got some lines on here that I want you to pay attention to. The pink lines are current areas of resistance that I see forming. The green line is representative of the previous high that we have now broken. The red line represents a previous high that we didn't break, and the white lines are forming our larger formation on the longer time frame. As you can see, this is the triangle we've been watching. I've had to adjust this upper limit now. It's important to know, guys, that you should be updating these charts actively. Don't just draw a set of lines and stick to them, because you know, wicks are deceptive. Where the lines need to be gets proven over time, and this is a much better fit for this line now, and we can see that although we thought we'd broken out of that pattern, perhaps we haven't. Perhaps it's just forming over an even longer time frame than we believed. Now what we're waiting to see is if we're going to get a repeat of the downwards wedge formation that we've seen on two occasions. One here, a bit crude drawings, forgive me, but I'll do them quickly. We saw one there. If you've watched the videos before, you've seen these. We had one there, and as you can see, we broke out positively out of both of these downwards falling wedges. And now what happened was we fell from the top of the resistance of this line, and then we broke back up and tested it once again. Now, is this happening again? Have we touched this line, and are we about to see something a little bit like, I don't know, the last one got less steep, so perhaps we're going to see even slightly lesser steepness in this move? But are we going to see another rising wedge formation, falling wedge formation, which we will be waiting to see if it breaks to the downside and breaks this lower resistance here, or if we pop back up from that area and then end up breaking through the longer term trend? We'll have to keep an eye on it, guys, and see what happens. I'm not going to call it, because at the end of the day we trade breakouts, not guesses. So that's pretty much it for Bitcoin today. I don't want to stick on it too much, because I think it's pretty clear what's going on at the moment. We can see we've had the retracement from that push, as we expected would happen once we reach this zone. I think it's very important that we've set a new higher high than the last time. But I don't want to say that there's any confirmation of some bull run just yet, because we'd need to see a lot more confirmation than just this. And as we saw from this big engulfing red candle, the market can turn very quickly. So quickly onto coin market cap. We've got Bitcoin dominance is a little bit further down again today. I believe, if I'm not mistaken from memory, it's at 52%. Got 27 billion volume, which is hovering still quite high, considering we had that long period of 21 billion, so it's still a little bit elevated from that area. Market cap of 130 billion, which again is still not as low as it has been, as we know by looking at the Bitcoin chart. Mostly reds across the market today, except for most of the projects which are in the green are the ones that have been announced to have the new partnerships, like we discussed earlier. Basic Attention Token, Icon, tokens like that, doing quite well. Safe has made a retracement after a huge push up. Engine coin has seen a mass increase in the last day or so on the Samsung news, and well, I'll just show this with you quickly. This was a educational trade call. I don't give financial advice, I give educational trade calls for you to have a look at and see what price I'm potentially thinking about buying in on, and then you're in a position to go and do your own research and decide if that's for you. That's one of the things I offer, is these educational calls. And we got in at I made the educational call at 1217 Satoshis and got in there myself at that point, and as you can see, that call peaked at 143% yesterday, so not bad returns. For full disclosure, we've been now live on Telegram for 16 days. We started on the 10th. In the Premium Alliance area, we've made 21 educational calls, and Of those 21, the average peak profit that would have been made was 20%. That's where we're at the moment. It's 20%. I'm happy to share the details of that, obviously, with the premium members. I'm not going to release all the calls to everyone, but the guys that are in there, they know that those educational calls were potential peak profit averaging at 20%, so pretty nice. But obviously that's what happens when if you combine TA and fundamental analysis together, it can be very useful. For example, Mana, I didn't actually call this one today. I hadn't read the story about Decentraland HTC. This one slipped me by and I missed that. I have, however, picked up on another currency which I have purchased, and I think we've actually called it in the free group. I made a video about it yesterday. Cosmo Chain. And again, as I said in that video, I'm not shilling, but as I was discussing earlier on in the video about the Samsung presentation, they were advertising Cosme, and Cosmo Coin is the native currency of that decentralized app. It's got a relatively small market cap of 15 million US dollars, and it sits in 187th place. Now, it did have a pump up of about 50% after the news sort of began to be released, but the phone's released on March 8th, and the platform will probably see adoption. If Samsung have seen fit to have it on their own marketing material for Knox, I think they probably see this thing getting adopted. So do your own research and all that, but at its relatively low price at the moment, it appeals to me. The thing that it has different to the, although again, Engine Coin and Mana Decentraland, all those things look like very good projects, the market cap of Cosmo Coin is less, and therefore for me it's another position that I'll put a low risk amount in. Again, not financial advice in any way, but I'll put a low risk percentage of portfolio in, and if this is successful with the DApp launch on the phone, we could expect to see some nice returns, or I can expect to see some nice returns. I just want to do one quick news story today. It's kind of in the spirit of adoption. We have had announcements circling on Twitter, and that the first cryptocurrency ETF is to be approved on ADK coin, and we covered ADK. We had a little look at it in a few of the videos back when it first launched. I sort of wasn't sure what it was, and I went and looked into it, and it's Eidos Canine. Now, I recommend you go and have a look at this, Eidos Canine, because their technology looks interesting. I've got to say, what I don't like about the whole thing is it all looks a bit scammy. It hasn't got a very professional feel to it. That's my issue with it. Having said that, the technology that seems to be underlying the currency seems very good. They also have a banking system as part of their company already. As far as I'm aware, they own shares in some banks, and they're going to use that to help launch this. It's a very private cryptocurrency. It does not use blockchain. It uses something called mesh. Go and have a look into it. I'm not going to speculate on whether I think this is going to do well or not, because to be honest with you, I really don't know. And when I've looked at them on here, Coin Market Cap, you can see that they had a really big price run up early January or December. Sorry, apologies. They had their big run up last February of last year, when a lot of tokens did, and then it's pretty much died. We're down at $2.40 price wise. It's died, but then price wise, a lot of the coins have come down this far. So it's interesting to keep an eye on now. Whether or not this ETF is as legitimate and as secure as the ones we want to see developing for Bitcoin is yet to be seen. I advise you to do your own research before sort of going and buying some ADK. I would have a look into this and see what you think. Anyway, that's going to do it for me today, guys. Hope this content's all useful. Thanks for sticking around. See you in the Telegram group, if not back here for another video. Take it easy, guys. Bye.